All right, hi, and welcome to part 3 in my series on the conspiracy of giants. Now, in my last video, I ended up talking about how there was another theory put forward by somebody that claims that giants are the result of Cro-Magnon man mating with Neanderthals. And the result of that are offspring that are very large giants, essentially. That's the idea. Now, it's kind of interesting because if you take certain animals like a lion and a tiger, you get what's called a liger, and they produce these at zoos. The ligers are very large. They're enormous. The largest cat in the world. They're huge. You just go on the internet, look up liger, you see how big they are. It's believed that that could be what has happened with giants. When Cro-Magnon mates with a Neanderthal, the offspring are very large, essentially giants. And that's what you have happening throughout the ages. So there is a belief in that. That's a very interesting idea, a very interesting theory. Now, so I've been talking about giants, and let's say, you don't really believe in what I'm saying. You're someone who's of more of a pragmatic mindset. You want something a bit more scientific to probably explain it. Well, there is something else that is very scientific that could explain the possibility of giants. Now, in the Earth's past, because of the atmospheric conditions being what they were, for example, the ozone layer was 7 times greater than it is today. Also, the Earth's atmospheric pressure was double at that time, and it's believed that because of this and some other things, all life systems grew larger. And if you look, dinosaurs, you had, for example, all different types of animals growing much larger. A dragonfly today has a wingspan of about 4 inches. In the past, they had a wingspan of 5 feet. In addition to this, you have beavers. Now, beaver today is very small, but in the past, you had beavers that grew to be like 300 pounds, the giant beaver. You had elephants that grew much larger, rhinoceros that grew much larger, wolves, bears. You had an Asian ape called Gigantopithecus, kind of like similar to an orangutan, but they're the largest primate that's ever been discovered. These real huge ancient apes that used to exist in Asia that grew to a very large size. So, yeah, all life systems grew much larger. So if all these life systems grew much larger, why not humans as well? And that's what's really interesting. Maybe humans did grow large as well. Seems to be that, according to a lot of these stories that I've told, that was the case. All this, evidence of these burials and these skeletons being found seem to show that, could be talking about a race of humans that did grow very large because of the Earth's atmospheric conditions. Everything did grow much larger. Now, there's actually a archaeologist who wanted to test this theory that things did grow larger. So what he did was he had engineers create a biosphere. And what they did was they doubled the atmospheric pressure in the biosphere. They increased the electromagnetic energy. They increased the ratio of oxygen, but not to the point where it was toxic, so they could eliminate the ultraviolet radiation. They did a few other things. And they did this in a biosphere, in like a room. And then what they did was they put a fish tank in this biosphere, and they put a piranha in the fish tank. What ended up happening to the piranha is it nearly doubled in size. So I found that fascinating. It's an interesting study. It nearly doubled in size. And you could check this out. I believe the individual's name, like I said, Dr. Carl Baugh, B-A-U-G-H. So, yeah, an archaeologist who, conducted this experiment. Really fascinating thing to look into. So, yeah, there is some scientific evidence that the Earth's atmosphere could have been such to allow human beings to grow to a much larger size. But, yeah, now, one thing that, I should also mention is the fact that over the past 100 years, human beings have been growing to a larger size. They have actually been getting taller. I believe in the past 100 years, the average human being is 6 inches taller than they were 100 years ago. But that is due to things like, nutrition and sanitation and those types of things that have caused people to grow larger. Not atmospheric conditions or anything like that, but they've been growing larger just because of, improved nutrition and, like I said, sanitation. For example, I just recently saw a documentary on the boxer Jack Johnson, the first African-American heavyweight champion who became champion in 1908. And he was 6'1", 212 pounds. And he was considered to be really big at that time. And, that's above average today, certainly. But you wouldn't really call that, like, really huge. But he was considered to be very large, and he was usually much bigger than most of his opponents. So, but, still, by today's standards, you wouldn't really call that huge. So, people have been getting bigger, but like I said, not because of atmospheric changes, because dietary reasons, sanitation, and this is primarily in industrialized first world nations. I should definitely add that. But, yeah, so, all this stuff is really fascinating, really interesting. Definitely something to look into. I mean, there are even more articles that, you could find. And I definitely recommend people to, go online and check out, some of these articles of these giants that have been dug up. Here, I'll read another one, because these are kind of amusing. While excavating in a gravel pit at Anderson, Indiana, workmen unearthed half a dozen skeletons, most of which were 8 feet tall and over. One in particular was that of a man of giant stature, and all were far above the height of tall persons. 2 of the skeletons were those of women. In the graves were found pieces of pottery, such as were unknown by the Indians, which leads to the conclusion that the bones are those of people of a prehistoric race. 2 bodies were found close to an ancient mound. So, again, fascinating stuff, right? Very, very, very interesting to read about. So, conclusion, I guess the question looms, do I myself believe in giants? Do I believe there could have been a giant race? Yeah, in all honesty, I don't know. I guess the more romantic aspect of me wants to believe that there were, but I just really don't know. At the same time, there's a part of me that realizes there's so much as human beings we don't know. And, who knows? So I guess you could say I'm kind of skeptical on it. I kind of want to believe in it, but I just really don't know. But I do know one thing. It is definitely interesting. It's definitely an interesting thing to talk about, and that's why I did this video. I want to kind of put ideas and things out there that are interesting, that people might want to learn about. That's definitely something you could do at this day and age with YouTube and the internet. So if you watched this video, I definitely thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making these videos. And if you watched all 3 of them, I thank you for watching. Have a good day.